Have you ever found yourself replaying one tiny, hopeful moment in your head over and over again? So much so that it just completely erases weeks or even months of evidence pointing in the exact opposite direction? It's a feeling we all know, but it's not random. There's actually a pattern to it. Today, we're going to break down what I like to call the calculus of disappointment.
I mean, it's a wild question when you think about it, right? How can one little smile or one friendly text feel so huge that it just washes away an entire ocean of doubt? We're going to get into the mechanics of why this happens and why this emotional phenomenon can be so powerful and, let's be honest, often so painful.
So, let's dive right in. What feels like this messy, chaotic, emotional storm is, a lot of the time, a surprisingly predictable four-stage pattern. And once you understand this calculus, you can start to see what's really going on behind the scenes of your own disappointment.
All right, here's the game plan. It all starts with what I call the idealized variable. That's how we build up this perfect version of someone in our heads. Then, something happens. The hope catalyst, a single event that just pours gasoline on the fire. This leads to a huge emotional miscalculation, which brings us, finally, to the inevitable result. Let's start at the very beginning. Okay, stage one, the idealized variable. This is the foundation. It's where we create a version of a person in our mind that becomes a key part of our whole emotional equation. And to really get this, we're going to follow the story of a guy named Umar. He's a quiet, hardworking student, and he's been watching his classmate, Zara, from a distance. Now, in his mind, she's not just another student. She's something else entirely. And this slide just lays it all out. The huge gap between what he sees and what's real. In Umar's world, Zara is captivating, focused, disciplined. He's basically projecting all the things he values onto her. But the reality? Well, she's always the center of attention, moving from one admirer to the next. And it's not like Umar doesn't have the data. His own friend Ollie puts it about as clearly as you can. It's a brutally honest observation, and pretty much everyone knows it's true. But for Umar, this fact it doesn't fit into his perfect equation, so he ignores it. This right here is the critical blind spot.
So you've got this idealized person all set up in your mind. Now all you need is a spark. And that brings us to stage two, the hope catalyst.
And that spark, that catalyst, it arrives in the most ordinary place you can imagine, the university library. Umar's there, deep in his studies, totally in his zone, and then Zara walks up to his table. This is the moment. A new and very powerful piece of data is about to enter the equation.
And check this out. She doesn't just say hello. She praises the very things he's proud of. His focus, his discipline. She even knows about his good grades. She's validating the best version of himself. And then she drops in the most powerful variable of them all, the idea of a future meetup.
This one sentence is everything. To Umar, this isn't just a casual, friendly comment. No, this is proof. It's the confirmation he's been subconsciously waiting for. The thing that proves his idealized version of her was right all along. And this one line is about to trigger a massive miscalculation.
Which leads us straight into stage three, the emotional miscalculation. This is the absolute heart of the calculus. It's where the math just goes completely off the rails.
This is the key question, isn't it? You've got this mountain of data about Zara's actual behavior, and then you have one tiny new data point, a quick, friendly chat. Logically, it shouldn't really change the big picture. But emotionally, it changes everything.
So if we were just being objective, looking at the cold, hard facts, this is the reality. Zara's consistent, observable history makes up about 95% of the evidence here. That one little 5-minute conversation in the library, that's maybe 5% at best.
But just look what happens inside Umar's mind. The weights are totally flipped. This is a classic textbook case of confirmation bias. See, our brains desperately want our preferred story to be true, so they hunt for and massively overvalue any little piece of evidence that confirms it. That hope catalyst, that one conversation suddenly carries 95% of the emotional weight, and all their past behavior gets dismissed as totally insignificant. He's not running on facts anymore. He's running on the intoxicating math of pure feeling.
And when your calculations are this skewed, there's really only one possible outcome. This brings us to our final stage, the inevitable result.
Right after Zara leaves his table, Umar is on top of the world. He feels seen, he feels validated, he feels like he's already won. He is living completely inside that 95% bubble of hope he just created for himself.
So he picks up his phone, probably buzzing, ready to tell his friend the amazing news. And that's when reality decides to introduce one final, brutal piece of data. that's going to force the whole equation to solve itself.
It's a post from her, a picture with a completely different guy that she apparently ran into that very same day. And the caption says it all: instant connection. This new data point doesn't just contradict his hope, it completely annihilates it. It proves that the 95% of past behavior he chose to ignore was the correct data all along. And just like that, the calculus resolves. The answer is disappointment. It's that exact feeling of sadness you get when the hope you invested so much in, the entire expectation you built, is suddenly shown to have been built on nothing.
So here it is, the whole emotional journey laid out. It starts with idealization, then you get that powerful spark of hope. That spark leads to a massive miscalculation, and finally, it ends with the crash. It's a clear, repeatable, and painful pattern. But it's a pattern that, once you see it, you can actually start to anticipate.
And look, if you take only one thing away from all this, let it be this. This whole thing isn't really a failure of logic. It's more like a triumph of feeling. Our hopes and our desires are so incredibly powerful that they can literally create their own internal mathematics, convincing us that 5% is actually 95%.
Now, this whole process we just walked through, it can feel completely automatic, can't it? Almost like a reflex you can't control. But here's the real question. Now that we can see the formula, now that we understand the stages, is it possible to become a better emotional mathematician? Can we learn to catch ourselves, to pause right before the miscalculation, and maybe, just maybe, learn to rewrite the equation for ourselves?